with Mike. Do you
Michael
people,
Hatcher.
Michael Hatcher. Do people call you Mike at all?
I prefer Michael.
Is that a thing from the baby boomer generation?
No, it just Mike is my birth name was Michael, and
Okay.
so my mother always wanted me to be called Michael. So
I see.
I just go by Michael.
All right.
I'm not offended by Mike.
No, I like Michael. I think it's probably people closer to my generation who are like not so they're rather casual about following names as parents
Yeah.
gave to their children. And I really appreciate that. Because folks say to me all the time, oh, your name is so complicated, you should find a different name. And then I'm like, no. No. What do you think about that?
Utkarsh.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
It is the sweetest sound anyone will ever hear is their own name.
It's 100% true.
And so that's just one of the things that through the years I've tried to focus on people's names and calling them by their name and referencing them. It's just part of a personality that I have. First of all, as we get started,
Yeah.
I'd like to congratulate you on your wedding
Thank you so much.
recently.
That's,
How fun that must have been in the Himalayas with the friends.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good.
It was different, and I was surprised by how I'm thinking about the two of us in so many decisions that I'm making now. I've even cut back on the BS I got going on a daily basis since then.
Yeah. It is, but marriage, no matter where you are in the world, no matter what your faith or what your beliefs are,
Yeah.
when you are equally yoked
Yeah.
with a life partner, it makes everything better.
Yeah.
Everything. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And your wife's name was
Sumita.
Somata.
Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations, Somata.
Thank you so much, man. It means a lot.
So we had a couple of really great conversations driving back and forth to the hotels on
The last 2 days.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think the starting point of all of it was you've seen people and technologies come and go all these years, and that sort of triggered us into a discussion on the ebbs and flows of the business,
Right.
how times change, and frankly, the latest point you were tripping on was the speed at which changes are happening now vis-a-vis how they used to happen like 20 years ago.
Right. And I think that again is just a reflection of the technology and how things happen at the speed and the pace of some of those advancements. Years ago here in Memphis, the world headquarters for Federal Express, FedEx has been here. It's where it originated.
That's
Back in the 70s, yeah. And so their world headquarters is here, and obviously they're a recognized corporation around the world.
right.
Some of their technology has been really advanced in how they have shipped things around the world.
True.
I often say I live in Memphis, Tennessee, where I can get anything anywhere from around the world in 36 hours or less.
I think you probably do because you landscape those sites, don't you?
I do.
And so
Yep.
you are literally shipping everything or
Yep.
helping them ship that.
Yep. Early on to that point, FedEx and their technology created something called Zap Mail.
Okay.
ZAP, Zap Mail.
Early on meaning?
Early on meaning before the fax machine, before the facsimile, or the fax, what later became known as the fax machine. Zap Mail was technology that FedEx had developed, that allowed them to transfer data over, at that point, communication lines, because you got to realize this was before the fax machine, this was before the internet, this was before all of that. And it was something that they realized that they couldn't harness because it was going to be bigger than what they could get their arms around. So as we have gone and I have seen technology develop, sometimes when that technology develops, it's too big for any one company or corporation to adapt. The same thing may be said, and I'm not as versed with the internet, but when the internet was introduced, it had a much smaller footprint than it does in the worldwide application today. So I just share that with you as a bit of technology. Those that may want to look it up, ZAP, Zap Mail, and the early technology of FedEx. This would have been back in the 80s.
I see.
Back in the mid to late 1980s.
Oh, so the fax machine didn't exist till 1980s?
Correct.
Wow, I didn't know that.
When I first started my business, when we needed copies, they were done differently than the technology we have today for copy machines. And actually, when I first started writing my estimates back in the early 80s, we used what was known as carbon paper. And it was a sheet of paper that was inserted between two sheets, the sheet you were writing on and the sheet that you wanted it to transfer to.
Yep, creates a copy.
Yeah, to make a copy. Yeah. And so, as we think now, just the technology in that alone, with the pads and the pens and it's just amazing. And so,
I think one of the coolest things it does is it makes the document very mobile.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to keep a record of all these things or carry all these notebooks with you. You take it to the field, you take it wherever you want.
Right. So some of the other things, Utkarsh.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Was that we, when I first started in the landscape industry, was the year that glyphosate under the trademark name of Roundup was introduced. So I date myself back to that, as well as the year that the Weed Eater brand of stringline trimmer was introduced to the consumer.
Wow.
And it was tethered with an electric cord because all of them ran off electricity. So if you take that small tidbit and if we could just share a few moments with that, and apply that to the autonomous mowers and the electric opportunities that are coming forward. Think about, we had an electric stringline trimmer that would only go as far as the extension cord or electrical outlet that you could get to.
Right.
To today, what we have gone through the combustible engine, the 2-cycle, and now we've gone to the battery-operated stringline trimmers. So, is technology coming full circle?
It just did. Well, it used to run with electricity before, then it ran with fuel, and now it's running with electricity again.
Right.
But the electricity is portable.
There you go. So that technology has adapted itself, and that was the reason that we went to the 2-cycle small engine.
Portability.
Was portability. So, if that is a foundation of some of the technology as we go forward, just a thought. Just to ponder that, the mobility of that technology. The handheld phone, the device that you're recording our conversation on.
Right.
It used to be that it was, as we were laughing and I was sharing with you in my early days, we had what was called a party line, where there would be a telephone in 4 different houses that shared the same line. And they had 4 different rings, so when you would ring my phone, it may have 2 short rings. Ring, 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 ring.
Yeah.
And you would know that it was your call. my neighbors may be one long ring. 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 And so you wouldn't answer that call.
So all the phones in that on that line would ring at the same time, and they would ring in a particular way, and that sound would tell you who the call is for?
Correct.
What? And apparently, like, if like I pick up the phone, then Michael can hear my conversation. That's why it's called
Utkarsh, hang up! I'm off talking to my girlfriend. Because you could hear, you could hear background noises just like you do now on phones. So if somebody picked up,
Is that why they call it a party line?
that's why they called it a party line.
Party's always on.
Yeah.
Did you
So-
also?
Go ahead.
Did you also like send messages on telegraphs and stuff?
No,
You're not that.
I'm not that old.
You're not that old, okay? I don't know, man. I mean, I thought.
Yeah. No, I'm not that old. But those are things that I enjoy and love having conversations with people your age.
Right.
My youngest son, who's studying mechanical engineering and getting a master's degree, and the conversation we had about that, and
Yeah.
the way what his studies are, and the solar towers, and where we're going with the energy, for our everyday lives. That is the technology.
There's a big element of portability in that too.
Yes.
Like it's not connected to your regular grid.
Right.
And you can probably have it more local. I mean, he's working on concentrators,
Yes.
but and so concentrators are still utility scale. However, I just had this thought because you were talking about portability. This whole point of solar is not being attached to the grid, and I think we'll find that trend a lot,
Right.
in the tech that comes up.
So as we have had some great conversations over the last few days,
Yeah.
we're actually headed today downtown Memphis, and there's a lot of history in Memphis. Some things that we're awful proud of, and some things that probably not so much. But Memphis has been a great town. It's been a great city. I have been here for 40 years. I've had my company for 36 of those 40 years. When I graduated from Mississippi State University, my degree was in landscape contracting, as we previously discussed, different than landscape architecture in that the majority of my classes were focused around business and business management. It had to do with money and banking, business finance, business law, understanding accounting, and those different types of business courses, which at the time as a young man, I was very perplexed why I wasn't studying agronomy. and although we did have those courses in our curriculum, I didn't see or understand the need. So technology at Mississippi State in 1980, we had a computer and we were using punch cards to write programs. So I've actually sat down at a workstation and typed in programming that was on punch cards, like IBM index cards, and then they were put into a card reader and the mainframe would read them.
How big were the cards? Like, and what's they? I never.
They were very close to the size of an envelope that you would see in a registered letter or a regular mail envelope.
I see.
Yeah. And so each card, there were rows and lines, and wherever that card was punched was how the computer read and designated the program.
Gotcha. And how many? So, can you give me an example of a program you wrote, what it did, and how many cards you had to punch through to actually get it working?
Oh, we were doing probably basic accounting and
Arithmetic.
Math calculations, writing, and it could be anywhere from 200 to 400 cards.
Did you carry that along with you all the time?
You'd carry a stack of cards, yeah. And then you didn't want to ever get them out of sequence.
Oh, there was a sequence?
There was a sequence.
What? But they would look exactly the same, apart from the pattern, of course.
Yes. So think about that technology, and that thought just came to mind as I was reflecting back on the college days, to where now the computing power that we have with the microchips and all of those things that I'm not really that familiar with. But that is our conversation this afternoon, is the advancements that I have seen in my lifetime of technology as it relates to our industry.
Yeah.
I referred back to the streamline trimmer, the introduction of the glyphosate chemical, Roundup, and then there's always been in landscape design, the term that I use is trendy. So there are trends, just like we have fashion trends, and what those fashion trends are. Those trends have also come through our landscape industry. Early on in the 80s in my career, it was very common to use repurposed cross ties that you would see that are under the railroad tracks.
Cross ties?
The cross ties, the timbers, the wood timbers.
Gotcha. Use that for what?
For retaining walls. You would use it to build retaining walls. You would use it to create hardscapes. Maybe they were used to border a bed to create bed edging. And you know, the cross ties were treated with a chemical called creosote. And creosote is not very, in today's environment, conducive to the environment. So they fell out of favor, or fell out of trend, as I'm speaking on trends, of products that were used in landscape design. From those, we were introduced to the segmental blocks, and those now you see quite often in the use of retaining walls or other materials. The brick pavers. Pavers have been around since the Roman times.
Yeah.
And now they have come back into trend because of the texture and the different patterns that you can create using those. And so those are some of the things as you're talking about.
You were also talking about the plant trends, I remember,
Yes.
The way plantings are done, like in combination.
As that relates to the horticulture specifics of a plant.
Is that, so you were talking about plants being more demanding, some demanding more water, some demanding less water, and you're just planting them next to each other. Is that a recent thing? Has it always been around?
Yeah, so when you get into the green side, and that's what we refer to the plants in our industry, is the green side. There's all kinds of different challenges. You got plants that like shade, plants that like sun, plants that like water, and to have their roots in a wet, boggy situation. Others, like the cacti, that can live for extended periods of time with very little water or rain at all. And then the design of the designers wanting to try to create aesthetic interest by using different types of plants that may have different requirements for their life cycle.
Right.
So those were things that we discussed, and really we've had some great conversations of this, which is one of them right now.
Right.
So as we go through all those changes, and we talk about all those changes in the years of what we've seen, the trends of what we've seen, back in the early 80s, I graduated from Mississippi State in 1982. I moved to Memphis, took a position, worked for a couple of other companies before I started our company in 1986, the one that we have today. Landscape maintenance was looked upon differently. It was more of just necessity rather than a marketing strategy that maybe a property manager would have to enhance the aesthetics or the desire for, whether it be an office building or a homeowners association or whatever. So the whole landscaping trend has changed over the years.
Interesting.
And it is changing always, just as our trends are.
Interesting. Can you speak to a little bit more about these preferences from property managers, the customers changing over the years? So when you say it used to be a necessity, I am hearing that it's important to keep the vegetation in check so that the property looks civilized.
Correct.
And then you're talking about a point where we're supposed to make it look really awesome so that adds to the real estate value of the property.
Yeah, so, early on, back in the 80s, it was very important to have a clean kept lawn or landscape. But most of the office buildings didn't have the outdoor spaces or the patios or even the thought of creating all of those spaces. Now, in the municipal areas, yes, they were city parks, and there's always been those.
Yeah.
But to the specifics of the investment that a property owner may have, and creating those environments that the employees would want to go, or the residents would want to go out and enjoy their gardens. And a lot of it is just, it's the trends that we've changed in becoming more aware of our environment and the conditions and the desire for people to want to work in an outdoor environment. Really, really interesting. And as I reflect back on some of the technology, I remember FedEx in one of their technology centers here in Memphis early on was having some outdoor workspaces. That was at the very, very early beginning of wireless internet. And so when that came along, all of a sudden you start designing outdoor spaces where people can go with a laptop that is no longer tethered to a cord or a cable for the information and connection to their work data.
Yeah.
So
where do you see the preferences of property managers changing, like heading next after, where they are currently? So one thing I'm hearing from some customers is property managers at some point used to be very interested in taking walks around the site, and now they're more laid back in the office, probably because the newer generation that's come into the office, they growing up on this diet of technology.
right.
They're getting further away from being closer to nature, or like feeding the plants in the spaces that they are supposed to maintain, and adopting a more a contractual relationship with their landscape contractor rather than a partnership where they're like, all right, let's grow and nurture the landscape.
Yeah. So where we're going to see that technology and the greatest advancements in that is how we communicate with them. The opportunities that we will have in the future of using the technology to share with them in real time. Maybe they don't want to walk the property. Maybe they're busy doing something else. Maybe they're working remotely. Maybe they're in another city and you're there with the technology of a drone or your phone or a camera or some other device that allows you to communicate with them in such a way that neither one of you may even be there. Why would the account manager even have to walk? If the technology, real quick, flip the camera, and there's the Mississippi River.
Oh wow, that's the bridge.
That is a pedestrian bridge.
That's a pedestrian bridge.
Yeah, we'll have some other better pictures. So I just wanted to give you that real quick. We're going to turn and go this way downtown.
So that's the river Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn floated down.
They came right down through there. Yeah. So those are
good old days.
Yep. We're actually headed down to the Peabody Hotel, and the Peabody Hotel in in the lobby of the Peabody Hotel is where the Mississippi River Delta starts.
In the lobby?
Well, that's where all the Southern gentlemen and the plantation planters and all of those that were doing business would meet and conduct business.
It's a historic place?
A very historic place. Yeah. And then that's the north end of the Mississippi Delta and all the history of that. The southern end is at Natchez under the hill. And under the hill at Natchez was a very notorious brothel.
Interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting. Not to a married man, sorry. Not anymore. Old habits die hard.
Let's get back on trends. This is the Union train station. This is where the train, the Amtrak train station that connects the city of New Orleans with Chicago. And so we have 2 trains a day that run north and south.
Have you ever taken the train?
Oh yes, I have. Yeah, quite the trip. It's good.
Where did you go from?
I have been from Memphis to Chicago, and I've also been from Memphis to New Orleans. I've been both directions.
Long ways.
Yeah. So as we go through all of this, it's just really interesting to have a conversation, take the time and reflect. And I do appreciate you recording this, and you're free to use it in any capacity. I give you that authority and privilege. And
thanks so much.
it's just, when I have the opportunity, this is some of our projects right here that we've worked.
It's very postmodern design.
Yes, yes. So, 40 plus years, I actually started in the landscape industry in June of 1976.
Why did you start in the first place?
I was working at a nursery
Yeah.
and was selected by the local garden club chapter of my hometown. And the garden club is a ladies group that meets on a regular basis to enjoy the flowers and to have tea and socialize. Well, the Mississippi State University sponsors a week-long seminar every year for a group of students that are in high school. And in June of 1976, I was selected to participate in that seminar.
Interesting.
And when I got home, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I was going to be in the landscape industry.
Very cool.
So yeah.
That give you like a hands-on feel of the thing, and
Yes. Yes. So you see a lot of the urban design in here and what we're doing in here. A lot of this work was done by our company, the Street Tree Plantings. This is a revitalization area of Memphis that used to be cotton warehouses and manufacturing back at the turn of the 19th century. And we're looking downtown now. We're on Front Street. Front Street is one street. It's up on top of the hill below and to the river. So if you go to the bottom of the hill, you're at the foot of the river. And so as we're going today,
the river is over there.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. This is Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard.
Is he from Memphis?
Dr. King was assassinated here in Memphis. And that site is close by over here. This is Front Street. This is where cotton merchants used to go. There's the river, just right there. That's the foot of the river. That's where all the cotton barges and the steamboats used to come and pick up the cotton and take it to the fabric mills.
Is the cotton trade still going on?
Yes, the cotton trade still is very active. Memphis is home to the Cotton Exchange, and that building is right up here on the right. Again, I'm just sharing with you a lot of the history of Memphis as we drive through here. Kind of off topic on our trends, but Memphis is in a revitalization. Our downtown is really seeing a real revitalization.
Oh wow, the buildings here are like a combination of old and new on the two sides of the road.
Yes, yes. You can see the construction that's taking place. The tan building that we see in front of us, and there goes the trolley. Yeah.
Very few cities in the US have that.
Yes, still the electric trolley. Maybe
See?
you'll have a chance to ride that. And
I tried that in San Francisco.
yeah, there's another trolley as they're getting on. It runs down Main Street and it goes to the medical district and through other areas. I know I've enjoyed this brief conversation. We're arriving at our destination, but I will be happy and to continue at a later time.
For sure, I would love to. It would be an honor.
Great.
See you folks.